Welcome to Secrets Worth Sharing, a series all about having conversations about child sexual abuse in a better, more supportive way. Today, the episode is all about sex, sexuality, and queerness. We're going to unpack our favourite phrases that people have said to us in relation to this topic, and also things that you should probably definitely avoid. What are some of the most damaging things you've heard in response to child sexual abuse and queerness and sexuality?
Any kind of statement that is like, do you think that's why ...
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that's why you're gay is the one we were obviously talking about today, or do you think that's why you're such, a sexually ravenous person, or do you think that's why you're such a, sexually restrained person? Yeah. There's a way of asking those kind of questions in a much more open, invitational way. It's like, how do you think that has impacted on your sex life, on your intimate life? How do you think that has affected choices you've made for good or for bad reasons? Is that why? It's just to, cause and effect, and it's just much more complex than that.
And it also implies that the person's looking to an answer that might not even be there. Like we talked about the layers earlier, there just might be a reason why something is the way it is, and it has nothing to do with the abuse. Like, don't look for that to explain every question you have about a person. I remember a story of when my abuser first got confronted about what he did to me. And the first thing he said before he even acknowledged my situation at all was, I grew up in a boarding school and I used to get really heavily abused by the teachers, the male teachers there. And I just for a really long time thought that I might be gay before, he was saying this to his wife. He was like, I thought for a really long time that I might be gay. And so when I abused Sophia, it also came from feelings of, that I thought that I might be gay, and that's how that was coming out and manifesting itself. And it's honestly almost laughable because sexuality in a lot of families isn't talked about a lot as well, or anything beyond the heteronormative. I just remember getting so angry because I was like, why are you trying to bring a whole dimension into this that has nothing to do with me? But again, feeling quite confused because I was also like, but this is your experience as well. I still don't know how to feel about it. I don't know how to process it.
No, and even it was funny, I had such a guttural reaction when you said that, like of just this anger when you hear, and look, I'd love to be a bigger, better person, but, I still get caught up in a lot of hurt and a lot of anger on behalf of so many people.
Of course.
But when people were just saying, oh no, I only did because I was struggling with my homosexuality, and you're just like, and so we get these lines blurred again. And it's just like, why don't you just be honest and just say something like, I was, too cowardly to address, and so I found an innocent victim that I could silence to explore my same-sex attraction or questions with, but I very deliberately picked someone who couldn't speak up for themselves, who wasn't strong enough, and who couldn't say no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to feel sympathy because you played it very, very well for yourself, and that has huge impact on other people.
And it's also about that kind of trope of distraction as well, isn't it? It's like, oh, let me try and think of something that is also historically controversial and then just completely divert your attention onto that. And I definitely felt that had happened in the case of my abuser, in that all of a sudden members of the family were thinking, oh, so you thought you were gay, so then, oh, you had your own demon.
I think first of all, there's like those whole facial reactions and those facial tics where people like go, so sorry. And you're just like, why? Why are you sorry?
Yeah.
Like, I just think sorry is one of those catch-all words that people use to kind of cover every kind of awkward situation. Unfortunately, you're not the person that should be sorry, so it's lovely that you're saying that word, but I really need to hear it from somebody else. I think like thank you is a much, much more affirmative word to say to someone. So thank you for trusting me. Yeah. Thank you for telling me that. And try not to put words into somebody else's mouth. Like, that must have been really difficult for you to say. It's like, no, it was fucking difficult to say. I wouldn't have said it. So like acknowledging what somebody has done and just thanking them.
Another one for me is, so do you not being touched then? Shall I just not? Intimacy is part of all of us. It's something that we all want to enjoy and have a right to enjoy, as well as have moments where we have boundaries. And I think a more helpful way of phrasing that is, how would you like to be touched? Is it okay if we touch? Can we explore this together? And as you said, it's all about having questions that are more openers and conversation starters instead of assumptions with a question mark on the end. Another one, which really grates me, and it's something that I felt a lot growing up, particularly in a lot of cultures that are a lot more conservative. I was brought up to be like, don't wear your skirt above your knee, or make sure you cover this area of yourself, or because, you know, there's men watching, there's adults watching. And that already from a child created a narrative of you are responsible for how other adults sexually perceive you as a child. And even growing up and recognizing what happened to me, it took me a really long time to undo that thinking and realize actually it was nothing to do with like the type of pajamas I wore, or this person chose to do this to me no matter what. Again, like, it's also in how we bring up our children and how we encourage them to have conversations about their body and how they're sexualized and who is sexualizing them. What are some of the more special responses you've had that have really stuck to you, both in actions but also in words?
So one of the words that I would use as a psychotherapist around what can happen in the psychotherapy room is that it's an active kind of listening. You know, so be mindful of becoming like the little nodding dog at the back of the car. That's really not that useful. It kind of gives you a neck injury just watching it.
I'm doing it now.
I know, it's just, whereas actually turning around to someone and just, you know, look, tell me that story. It's called witnessing. And to me, witnessing isn't just that act of being in the other person's presence, which was exactly what was wrong with what happened. There was no one who witnessed it or chose to witness it or avoided witnessing it, but also there's a witness in it. Like, however you can communicate that through eye contact or through touch, if appropriate, or through a hug or through just silence, but making sure that that person is not on their own anymore, because it literally is the loneliness of going through this experience as a child on your own with no supports and no language. That's the devastating part. If you wanted to talk about it, where's the evidence of that? Just being mindful that there is such layers of silencing, of shutting down, that just, it is okay to come up with someone. Look, you said this to me last week. It's been on my mind. I wonder, would it be okay to come back to you at some point in your own time, just because it's important. And then the other person has freedom, the other person has time, they're not being demanded, but they see that you have a desire to know more about what they went through. And that is such a welcoming mat.
Absolutely. One of my favourite responses to disclosure that I've ever had, I just said the words like when I was younger, and the person just gave me a hug. And there was no words needed. That person had never had the experience before in their life. They didn't know what to say as well. But as you said, silence speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's that recognition of, you know, again, thank you so much for saying that to me.
Yeah.
If ever you want to talk about that again, or would it be okay if I checked in with you? And also, I love what you say, because there was such active connection in that silence. If you don't know what to say, because sometimes we are totally blindsided for 1,001 different reasons.
Yeah.
It's okay to kind of go, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because for many years, the person who's just disclosed to you didn't know what to say. And even in that moment, they haven't written out a script. They don't know what to say. But it's the not knowing what to do together that creates that connection. And that is a very empowering thing for both people. I love that phrase, I don't know what to say. Because you've just said the right thing.
Absolutely. Best place to end it, in my opinion. If you can just bring this up, that you've watched this or heard this, to one person, you will be amazed at the kind of stories and conversations you might have from it. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
If you like this, you'll also enjoy our longer podcast episode on this theme, with more juicy bits, practical advice and personal stories. Check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or go to www.secretsworthsharing.com.